welcome to my art room. I'm Danae. I'm so glad you're going to join me today. I am doing another in my Color Cube series. This is Color Cube Volume 1. And our palette today is number 19. It's beautiful. I love these colors. It's very fresh, very botanical. I'm going to really enjoy using these colors. So today I have this mixed black. I've mixed it myself. It starts with black and then I add lots of colors to it just to give it dimension. I have this one, phthalo cyanine green. I don't know if I said that right, but that's as close as I can get. This one is chrome green for forest green. And I have metallic red. It's got a little bit of shimmer to it. Hopefully that adds some fun. And I have this mustard, which I mixed myself. It's dioxazine purple and Hansa yellow. So, good palette. I also have these stencils from PM Artist Studios. They are crosses by Froyle. And I will put the description of, or at least the name, and where you can find them in the description box. I have two sizes. There's a third as well, and I'm going to use my gel plate today. I think I'm going to do some gel printing and some collage, so let's get started. So I'm going to get started here with some copy paper, and I'm using this tracing paper, which is kind of a wax paper, just to help pick up those edges. And you'll see that copy paper many times. So I'm going to start by just making some backgrounds, and then I'll build up on top of those. This is some tissue paper. I think it is wet strength tissue paper, but I don't remember for sure. I'm going to try and pick up what's remaining on that plate with another piece of copy paper. I find with gel printing, just like painting, I need to kind of warm up into it before I really hit my stride. So this is kind of some of the warm-up layers. I'm going to leave what's left of that mustard on the plate and come in here with a stencil from Joggles. This is called Pinwheel, and I use several other stencils in this video. I will link all of them. Well, I don't have a link. I will leave you their names and where to find them in the description box below. This little red that I'm using from Amsterdam is metallic, so it has kind of a shine and a shimmer, which isn't really coming up on the camera, but it's a fun color. And I'm going to pick that up using this tissue paper. This must be wet strength tissue paper. And I'm going to rub my stencil off just a little bit to see if I can get some paint onto my pickup sheet. And that is a fun little pull. It still left quite a lot of paint on my plate, so I'm coming back in with this tracing paper and see if I can get any of it to release. I find that the tracing paper is really good as a cleanup sheet, and sometimes when I can't get the plate to release onto other papers, it will release onto the tracing paper. So I've come back now with my mustard. I'm really happy with this mustard. I'm so glad that I found a mixture that is a color that's really nice. I've used it quite a lot since I've made it. And this is a stencil also from Joggles called Batik. It's a fun pattern, like a fabric. And I'm picking this up with the tracing paper. And what's great about this is the tracing paper, when I use it for collage, it will go nearly completely transparent with mediums. So all you'll see, and I will show you an example of it later, all you'll see is the paint. And it's just a cool little collage trick. And this is rice paper that I was using to just try to help pick up some more. I've let this dry completely, and now I'm coming in with my PM Artist crosses. And at first, I'm thinking I'm going to do like I've done with all of my stencils. I put a little paint down, I roll it out with my brayer, and that works great. Unfortunately, this time, as I rolled it out, I was picking up the paint. I didn't have enough paint down on the plate. So I abandoned the brayer. And because I want those crosses really dark and thick, I just come back in with my spatula and just apply the paint directly into those crosses. And this works much better. It gives me the look I want. They're nice and dark. Had a little bit of bleeding, but not too bad. And I let that dry completely. Now I've come in with my chrome green. This is a great green. I love this green. And this is my pickup layer. So I want it to be kind of thin. I want to be able to see the print underneath. And this is a very thin rice paper. When you use very thin papers on your gel plate, you have to be very careful with them. They're quite fussy. So I let this dry for a while. I want to say anywhere between 10 and 30 minutes just to make sure it was completely dried before I pull it up. And you can see it's still ripped a little bit as I'm pulling it. A very thin paper is very fiddly. You have to just give it some extra TLC. I'm really happy with this print. I like the color combinations. I do wish the crosses were in the front, and I wish that in the moment that I was making this, that I had remade it, that I had just gone ahead and started with the crosses first, and then the batik in the mustard and the green to pick it up. I think that would have made it a really cool print. But at the time, I just wanted to move on, and I'm moving on here with the crosses. I'm picking this up with, it looks like tissue paper. Oh no, this is the medical exam paper. This is also really thin. It does a very similar thing. It will go very, very translucent, transparent almost when you apply it with a medium. Just trying to get any little bit more of the paint out of those crosses. And here's the ghost I'm left with, which is really cool. This is another favorite stencil. This is Tweed. And here is that red metallic again. I'm just going to press it into all of those little spaces in the stencil. I've used this stencil so many times and in many different ways. I love this stencil. It's so versatile and gives a really, really cool result. So I'm going to let that layer dry completely before I come back with, this is mustard again, and I'm going to add some fluid acrylic in Titan Buff just to make it a slightly lighter color. And when your bottom layers are dry, you can just mix right on the plate. Just swirl it around until you're happy with the color. If you want it to be more marbled, then just don't swirl as much. And if you want it really, really clear, really mixed together, you just keep mix until you're ready to spread it out. And again, this is the rice paper. You can see here it's super, super fiddly. I'm trying to release the edges. I let this dry anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes before I pulled it. And this turned out incredible. This is my favorite pull of the day. It looks amazing. I love the way it's layered. I love the grungy bit of black in the front. Yeah, I was really, really happy with that. So I've been inspired by the inspiration picture. The card that I'm using for the color cube has this beautiful red flower. And so I decide to make some flowers myself. I'm using that red metallic. The one problem I have with the red metallic, I bought it in that little tube to try it out to see if I liked it. And I think the color is beautiful, but it's very, very transparent. It's not opaque at all. And you have to layer to get it really opaque. So I am slightly disappointed by that. I'm just coming in here because I know that paint is going to be transparent. I'm adding a back layer in mustard. So then on the top, it'll be red, but you'll be able to see this warmth underneath this warm mustard. And then anywhere that the paint has skipped or if it cracks, you'll see the mustard underneath. So I'm giving that a try. I let that dry completely. It's all been edited, so you don't have to wait for all the time. And I'm adding my dark green here, which I also, when I pull the stencil off, I let this layer dry and I pick it up with the chrome green, but I neglected to film that. So it's just the final pickup, which I'm sure you know how to do that. So it is missing footage, but here it is. And I'm removing the plate from the page because it's very wet in places. So this is the rice paper. Again, it's very fiddly. When you use very thin paper, you have to be very careful. And I just rushed. I was eager to pull the print. And those flowers have several layers of paint. And it just didn't dry all the way through all the flowers, and that's the result. It just ripped. The other ones look fine. Some of the paint pulled off, but I can paint on top. And it's so wet. I thought maybe I could pull it off and glue it on, but no, it just disintegrated. So I'm coming in with my Posca and I'm just adding some centers because they're just lacking some interest on the top. I think this color palette looks beautiful. I love the dark green with the chrome green behind as the pickup layer. I think it turned out spectacular. I would definitely try that again. So I decide I want to do this one again. And like I said, I wish I had done the other one, the green, earlier and tried that with the crosses in the front. But I really, really love this one. So I'm going to give it another go. And I'm going to follow just exactly what I did before and hope for a similar result. I find that gel printing can be a bit tricky, but typically you can get a similar result if you follow the same steps. These crosses on the tracing paper are amazing. I have used them in so many places. Not all of them have been filmed. I do use them a little bit in this project, but I've used them in my art journals. I've used them in a variety of places. They just look fabulous. And that tracing paper goes transparent when you use a medium, and they just look really cool and painterly. So not a lot of paint in that little tube. I'm getting towards the end. I haven't decided if I'll purchase a bigger one because I am disappointed with how translucent it is. I wish it were just a little bit more opaque. And just remember, each layer is drying completely before I add the next layer. I've just edited all of that out. And you mix, mix, mix until you're happy. And as this is the pickup layer, I want to be sure I can see through the paint. I don't want the paint in the pickup layer to be so thick that I cannot see the pattern. And I decide I've got these 3x5 cards sitting on my desk, and I decide to try and pick them up. And I use the crosses as a pickup sheet, which I think is funny because I don't get it all the way where it's necessary. So I have to bring in another pickup sheet. But grabbing these little 3x5 cards really influenced the rest of my decision making here. I was still up until this point thinking I would do a collage, like in my scrap journal. And once I printed on these little 3x5 cards, I decided to make card fronts for greeting card. This is how I make my Christmas cards. I use, whatever design I'm going to do, I build it on these little 3x5 cards. And then I apply the cards to blank greeting cards, which I will show you that process in this video. Unfortunately, I didn't get these pushed down quickly enough, and the paint on the edges dried on the plate. So I didn't get a good full coverage print on any of the edges. But the print itself, what pulls up, this is the best one, is fabulous. Oh, I just love this combination. It looks great. Yeah, really happy with those. And there's a lot left on the plate, so I decide that I'm going to pull that. And I know it's going to give me some interesting corners. And in the center where it's mostly green, I'll have the option of just a plain, green piece. So nice and smooth, and I'm picking it up with tissue paper. And this, I believe I let dry overnight. This is now the next day. Because that tissue paper, again, even wet strength tissue paper, you want to be careful, especially if you're picking up layers, because it will be a little bit fussy. But that turned great. I love that. So this old kind of faded background. So these are some of the papers I had already played with in my art journal. And this is what I mean by the papers becoming really transparent. So these are cut out and applied with matte medium. And it was just fun to experiment and play and see what they would make. And these are the other ones that I created. That one being my favorite. And here are my little cards. So I start making the card fronts. And unfortunately, I've done most of the cutting out of shot. So I've edited this down because you don't need to see me cutting off camera like this. At least this one got partially in. So anything that's really done off camera, I've just edited it out, and so I'm going to build up these card fronts, and I want to try and cover those white places in the card. And here's an example of using that tracing paper. You'll see it goes super transparent. I mean, to the point where you can't even see the pattern is so pale. It's hard to see that there's even a pattern there at all. So that's a fun tool to have. This I've already experimented with, and I know that it's amazing. When I put it down, that paper is going to disappear, and I'll just be left with these really cool mustard marks. I like how this green one mimics the red because we pulled it. It was the pickup sheet from doing that last pull with the cards. So the patterns are very similar. They really complement each other. I'm just gonna keep building up and experimenting, see what I like. I know, like, in my mind that I want a flower on each card. And so I'm still just playing. I'm trying to use as many of the papers as I can, just for the variety and the fun. And I keep coming back to these tracing papers because they're incredible. And just always trying to be mindful to cover up that white space. So here I've cut out one of the flowers. I think it's really cute. I left kind of a green border around it. So you have the hint of green. Yeah, these papers that I did on the tracing paper are fabulous. Absolutely love them. And here's another one. I trimmed really close, so there's not as much green on this one. And here I'm just going to keep adding a little here, a little there, trying to honor the inspiration color palette that I started with. That picture is really a lot of green with the red flower being sort of the dominant focal image. So I'm just trying to add some more green to each of the cards. And once you've made your cards, you can add any kind of, greeting on the front. You can just print out or you can write out, happy birthday or get well soon or thinking of you or, whatever it is, happy Mother's Day. So this is a fun product. It's like a gold leaf. So this is a glue that I'm applying now, and it goes on white, so you can see those little dots I'm putting now on the green, but it's going to dry clear. And once it's clear, it remains tacky. And once it's clear, I can go in and put my gold leaf on top. And here I'm just adding a little bit of gold into the center of the crosses that already exist on the page. I think this turned out really cool. And on this one, I'm adding some crosses on top. And I've got some of those black crosses, which I cut out. Yeah, these turned out fun. So I'm going to let that dry overnight. And now it's clear. It's hard to see. So this is the gold leaf that I use. It's not as fussy as the really nice gold leaf. This is maybe a little bit, I don't know, plasticky, but it's much easier to use. And it gives a really fabulous gold shiny finish. So I'm just trying to show you here the dots are clear, and I'm going to rub this gold sheet on top of them. And it brings them to life. It makes it very bright. It's a very shiny finish. And you can see I use the same sheet many times. So here I'm just trying to show you the gold shine. I didn't add a lot, so these little bits can be challenging to see. But I use that same sheet over and over again. When you're applying it, if the space you're applying it to continues to be sticky, then it just means that you need to add some more. There's still glue exposed. And this is how I would affix the fronts of the cards. So I'm going to just edge all of them. I don't show myself edging all of them, but I edge all of them in gold to just kind of give it a nice little border. And then I would affix the card front to the card and any sentiments that I want to put on it. And you can even decorate the card, behind the picture. And or add doodles. Yeah, so these are fun little cards. So I thought anyone watching this video, if you are a subscriber to this channel and you would like to receive one of these cards, then drop me a note in the description box and I will contact you and I'd be happy to send you one. Thanks for joining me today. If you are ready to watch another video, then I recommend this one. I hope you have a great day and I will see you next time. Bye.